got someone fresh off the road, Reverend Jackson. You had me chase her down yesterday, but it wasn't hard. When I said you wanted to see her this morning, LaTosha Brown, a co-founder of Black Voters Matter, Harvard fellow. She'll be teaching there again this year. She's with us, and we're so glad that she has taken time off the Freedom Ride to be with us to give us a good report. More of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson, 1-866-594-HOPE, 1-866-594-4673. Everyone, let me say this because I want to get to Latasha Brown because we have seen you on these freedom rides. This is the 57th anniversary, Reverend Jackson.
LaTosha Brown is a very different person.
She is.
Usually people with that kind of background credentials try to give us the fishing pole. Her hands in the water.
Well, before she heads back to Harvard, she is doing this. She will be teaching there once again this year. And the freedom rides, what are they? Where are you? Will you be doing any more this summer?
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight.
Hey!
Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. All right. We're going to fight until we get the justice that we deserve. Whether I am at Harvard, matter of fact, that it doesn't even matter. I am an activist before I am anything. I am a Black person, a Southerner who loves justice and love my people before I am anything. So we're going to continue. This is about to be a hot, hot freedom summer. You know, it was I'm a native of Selma, Alabama. Some folks may know that. And then I currently live in Georgia. So I'm like, how did I get in the epicenter of both of these spaces? Because I've worked my entire life on the ground in the South, and what is happening right now, the intensity that we're being attacked right now, we've got to meet that with the same intensity. So even before I go on, one day I was sitting there, we've been doing a lot. We did probably close to 30 events. We were going to rural communities. We went to large cities, but we also were stopping in rural communities along the way too. We went to in 10 states. And what was interesting is when I saw where I thought I was tired, and I saw Reverend Jackson and Barbara Arnwine and Reverend Barbara get arrested. I was like, you know what? I ain't doing enough. I got to get my life together. I'm just not doing enough. And so it was actually a beautiful experience. We started on, people may or may not know that the Freedom Rides were supposed to end in New Orleans. And one of the brothers, I've been so blessed in my life for God to put people who were in them. I, as a young person, they would talk to me and tell me, and I knew it was special, but now I'm really understanding and appreciating the significance. So one of the Freedom Riders was one of my mentors. His name was Jerome. We call him Big Duck Smith.
Yeah.
Down in New Orleans. Big Duck. And so we started, that's where the Freedom Rides were supposed to end, but it was so violent and all that was happening that it never quite, for various reasons, it never, and then they would push the envelope that captured the nation's imagination and support. And so it never fully made it to New Orleans as they had originally envisioned. So in giving homage, because I do believe that we need to recognize that everything that we're doing, that there are people who have challenged. We got to literally honor them, learn from them, and continue to build on that legacy. And so we wanted to start, before we even started the Freedom Tour, we went down to New Orleans. We were at New Orleans in the historic community of Tremaine, and got to honor and hear the stories of 3 of the original Freedom Riders who were down in that area to tell us the stories of what happened and to bless us as we go on our way. And then on that Saturday, Juneteenth, we set it off. We started in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, at Tougaloo College, and we went from Tougaloo College, and we drove all the way. We went to the 9 states. We went throughout the South and had events in large cities and in rural areas. We went to Columbia, Tennessee, and Cuba, Alabama. Yes, there is a Cuba, Alabama. And we went to Berkeley, West Virginia. We went where our people were to let them know that they're loved, they're not forgotten, and we're going to fight. And what's so interesting is while you didn't see the same level of cameras and crowds in the smaller rural communities, Rock Hill, South Carolina, the beautiful thing is that that's where we even with the people were so so excited that we were there. Folks were like, we don't feel, many of those rural communities would talk about how they felt, how they would feel isolated and overlooked. And so it's interesting. We would show up to those communities, and I'm thinking that we're getting ready to go and inspire. We would leave inspired. They would build us up for the next ride. So it wound up being a pure exchange of love and energy and power. We would get off the bus all hyped, thinking that, okay, we get ready to inspire and motivate. They would teach us. They would motivate us. They would actually inspire us. We would actually get back on the bus more feeling than we were before we got off for the next day. So it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. But our people are resilient and our people are committed. We've got to spread the word because people literally, when we're touching folks and talking to them, they ready, y'all.
Doctor, people follow you if you're going somewhere. They're
Right.
willing to follow. So we win to lose big election by the margin of the discussion and those who've been turned off. We must turn people on and give them to show them the value of the struggle.
Well, Latasha, I'm struck by the fact that you went where it sounds like the Southern Crusade that Reverend Jackson was also on in 1983 in the lead up to his first presidential run. Of course, Jonathan and I and Frank Watkins were on that. We were honored to be a part of that. Where you went to these little places,
Yeah,
right?
Frank.
The places that time forgot. I remember we were in one place in Mississippi, LaTosha, and everyone, and they literally, of course, in those places have train tracks or some literal dividing line between white and black communities.
Yeah.
And Reverend stood in the middle of the town square, and there were some black people who actually came on out. Others were afraid and they stood back as like straight out of the Dukes of Hazzard. These white sheriffs were standing on the side of the square, patting, literally patting their rifles. This is
Again.
1983.
Again.
Almost daring them. As Reverend said, there's a freedom train coming, but you got to register to ride. And as he kept on moving that choo-choo train down the tracks, people started coming out. But what are you seeing, Latasha? I got about a minute and a half. When you
Let me
go
just
to
say this
these little
quickly.
places,
Let me just say quickly that, oftentimes people out here, folks saying, they're like, well, we're right back where we are. No, we're not. We were riding around with big black buses, 50-foot black buses riding through the street because of the work they had done before us. They opened up the way and it made it easier for us to move around and send a message. I'm raising this because I think it's important for us to know that every step that we move, we're actually getting closer, and we have to build on it. And each generation has to give something and has to build from that. So what I'm feeling is we're seeing all of this resistance. We're seeing these Jim Crow laws, not because we're losing, y'all. We're winning. That we are building a coalition in this nation of black folk, of white folks, of what Reverend Jackson called the Rainbow Coalition. And we're moving, and there are people who want to do everything they can to stop that because they see that Jim Crow is on his last leg. And we're just going to go on and help him with it so he can just go gracefully to his grave. That's right.
well, everyone is fired up. Bishop Grant, before we go, I got about a minute. Your thoughts. I mean, as you
Well,
bring what you
well,
saw in Washington up to East Chicago, Indiana, and around the nation, Bishop Grant.
Well, we got to free the vote. 17 million
Amen.
removed from the polls, and there's 61 bills now waiting to be enacted in 18 state legislatures. For the People Act is exactly that. It's for the people, and it's the right thing at the right time. The work of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson is alive, and so are we. And we got to do our best to keep hope alive.
Reverend Jackson, 30 seconds
we,
before we
we,
go to
we really
break.
need people who did march or want to help. Go rainbowpush.org. We need your rainbowpush.org. We need your support. Now, please join today. We need your support.
Absolutely. Be a part of the
Help,
movement.
help us help you.
Be a part of the movement, everybody. Be a part of the movement. Rainbowpush.org, 773 Freedom, 773 Freedom. Let's get involved. It's Freedom Summer, everybody. 57 years later, it's Freedom Summer. Power concedes nothing without demand, and your liberty requires your eternal vigilance. Don't ever forget that. The fight never ends. The struggle, the fight, and the victories will continue. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes. Call us at 1-866-594-HOPE and throughout the week, rainbowpush.org and 773 Freedom. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a few minutes.
Hold on, hold on, keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Tasha? Oh, did LaTosha go?
This phone's been disconnecting.
Oh, it's been disconnecting people. We're gonna get her back, okay, Reverend? Because the phone's been disconnecting people. It's thank you, Barbara Arnwine. It's la 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 means I love you, LaTosha.
Okay, she must have dropped.
We've been
Or
having
she's just, somewhere silent.
we've been having trouble keeping everybody
Well,
online today.
Reverend, Santita's so right. Santita, you were so correct because as we traveled, we saw, especially in West Virginia, they just love Reverend Jackson. That's all they talked about is Reverend Jackson coming? And these were, poor white communities. They just love him.
Well, I guess because he's been there before, Barbara. He's been going there for so long.
Santita?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
LaTosha.
Reverend, LaTosha. Reverend, can you hear me?
Uh-oh, is something wrong?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, Reverend, I'm coming. We're back. It's LaTosha. We're trying to get her back, Reverend.
Right, LaTosha. And I want to say a word about the case, the Supreme Court case on the Voting Rights Act that's coming out tomorrow.
Okay, great. And we're going to move around to you, Frank Watkins, after that, and to you, C.K. Jonathan. Want some of these? I'm sorry. Did we get LaTosha? Let me go to you, LaTosha Brown. Statehood, that's right. So let me ask you this, LaTosha. Where do we go from here? I mean, we've had, this is the 57th anniversary of Freedom Summer. We're now moving into 2022. You've had this successful outreach to these places that are often overlooked, even by the major, especially by the major candidates, right? What's next?
So I think there are three things that we have to do. The first thing is we have to fight. We have to fight what is at the table right now. We have to fight for, as my sister Barbara says, HR 1, the For the People Act, and the John Lewis Voter Advancement Act, and DC states that is a form of voter suppression. And so we have to literally meet it with the same intensity that is being inflicted on our communities, put pressure on all of those branches of government to do the right thing and to pass those bills, including putting extended pressure on the Senate right now. The Senate has to do more, and we should expect that. The second thing we got to do, y'all, is we got to organize. That our organizing can't just even be in response to what they're doing. It has to be in response to what we want for our communities. When you organize power is realized power. Part of the reason why we were able to call a freedom tour in such a small time, similar to what Reverend Jackson did on this tour, we already had pre-existing relationships in those communities that we've been building over the last 5 years. And so we have to organize so that when it's time to act, we can activate our people and really be able to maximize our power in the streets. And then the third thing is, and I say this nation, that we have to reimagine, that we have to radically reimagine what we want this nation to look like. We have not America as it is laid out in the Constitution. That hasn't been achieved yet. Right there are elements of it. We're closer than where we were. The truth of the matter is that has not been achieved. That if we want a nation that all human beings are valued, respected, that ain't happened yet. And so until that happens, we've got work to do. So I think what we have to do is fight. We have to fight against those policies, fight to make sure we put people in office, register to vote. That's part of the fight, y'all. Using your vote, that's part of the fight. The second thing, and as I said, the second thing is we got to organize. We got to organize just not in response just every time they do something, but we have to keep on. We organize 365 days out of the year. You know, when I go back to Georgia, what I'll be doing after this freedom tour, I will be organizing because we have to organize power so we can realize our power. And the third thing is we have got to radically reimagine what this nation looks like. My question everywhere I go is I pose the question, what would America look like without racism? Most folks can't even see it. They don't even know what it would look like. So we'll never bring it into being unless we actually have a vision we can hold on to and build towards. That's what's going to get folks engaged, and that's what I think will get people excited.